On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the latest new set of Q posts paint an incredible picture, giving us a full look at what's going to happen tomorrow on Capitol Hill when they're going to be discussing the Clinton Foundation. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always like to start by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't done it, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button. It helps the channel out big time, and I really appreciate when you guys do that. So here's where we're going to pick up, guys. It's Q post 2586. This is where we left off, Q post 2585. And if you guys want to get caught up on that, I encourage you to come back here, as always, to this landing page. Watch these last few videos. They're going to get you caught up on the latest set of Q posts. Go back as far as you want. Watch any of the videos. They're all going to have incredible pieces of information in them. And also, if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon and what is this guy talking about? I encourage you to come here, watch this video. It'll give you all the information you need on, basically what QAnon the Great Awakening is, how to find the information, how to do the research, all that good stuff. I always encourage everyone to check that out. So before we get started here, I want to just scroll down and go backwards for a minute, and I want to point something out. And I want to talk about this really tragic story that just came out of Antarctica. Now, if you guys will recall here, there's this picture that Q gave us from presumably the South Pole, the geographic South Pole in Antarctica. Now, I don't know about you, but I suspect there's not many people down there. I mean, and I don't even mean to laugh because this is a really disturbing story, but there's obviously two people involved in this Q where we go all picture, right? And who are these two people? Well, we don't know for sure because we can't see their faces and it would be hard to basically say who they are. But obviously it's two people. You can see the shadow of a person here taking a picture, and you can see this guy standing here or sitting here with this sign up in the North Pole, or excuse me, in Antarctica at the South Pole. And this story just broke today. Apparently two technicians were killed at an Antarctica science station. Now, what the story goes on to say, I'll just read it. It says the National Science Foundation says two technicians working on a fire suppression system at an Antarctica scientific station were found unconscious and died. The foundation said Wednesday the two had been working in a building at McMurdo Station, which is on Ross Island. It says they were found on the floor by a helicopter pilot who had landed after spotting what appeared to be smoke from the building. Both were taken from the building and given CPR. One died at the scene. The other was flown to a clinic and pronounced dead shortly after. It happened Tuesday Eastern Time. They were employed by a Virginia-based subcontractor. The foundation says it is not immediately releasing any personal information about the pair. The deaths are under investigation. Guys, first of all, let's just thoughts, prayers for these people and their families, and they're in a better place now, and it's a very sad story. But yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the odds or coincidence of that could possibly even be, that this picture is posted and the very next day these guys, or 2 days later, these two, I'm not saying it was these guys, but I'm just saying that two individuals are found. And this is real. This is not a game. So don't forget that, guys. This is not a game. And I don't know. I'll let you guys make of that what you may. But we pray for their souls. It's whoever they were. Anyway, I just had to cover that first because that's jumping up on the boards and I had to go over it. But anyway, this is the first one here. It's this where we're going to pick up from where we left off. It's this Twitter post. It's from a person tweeting at filthy liberals. Anyway, it gives this clip of, I believe it's Sarah A. Carter, right? And she's basically saying that there's lots of sealed indictments on the way that are coming up. So that was kind of like the whole gist of it. It's the closing out of one of the broadcasts here. We have like John Solomon and Greg Jarrett and Sarah Carter, and they're all there on the panel with Sean Hannity. So I just thought I'd show you that. And then Q wants to say basically, what a coincidence. Q, well, of course, I mean, Sarah knows she's having her articles posted here. They all are aware of Q and what's going on. So it's just another tongue-in-cheek for us to look at and say, oh, okay, we know lots of sealed indictments exist. How many of those are actually related to the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation and Obama administration, FBI, DOJ? We don't know, if at all. So the speculation is still speculation at this point because they're still sealed. Now, this is a crazy story, okay? Q, first of all, an Anon posts this tweet where it talks about a fire breaking out in Raycom Info Tech Park, which is in the I'm gonna terribly make this. I'm not gonna be able to say this very well. Zhongkung Technology Hub in Beijing, China. I probably got that wrong, but whatever. Anyway, it says that this fire broke out, and this is where they actually house Google's offices, right? And then Q points us to this motherboard article, right, where it talks about the CEO saying that there had no plans to launch a censored search engine in China. And if you watched yesterday's hearings, I wish there was more time in the day, guys, because I am literally working like 12 hours a day or more, 14, 16 hours a day, it feels like, trying to edit and get these videos put together to post on the channel. Because I want to do them well, but it takes time. And anyway, I'm going to get the video up of the testimony from the Google CEO Sundar Pichai on Capitol Hill yesterday. I give you all the highlights tomorrow, or hopefully tonight, tomorrow, sometime soon. But anyway, it wants us to look at this. And one thing he was saying and reiterating over and over again on Capitol Hill was that they never planned to launch this censored search engine in China. Basically, through some of the questioning, it was made quite apparent that they had never had a plan for that. And then Q wants us to look at that. So we have to remember, first of all, that Dragonfly is the project that was uncovered that was going on inside of Google, where they were internally trying to create a censored search engine to bring online in China that the Chinese Communist Party could use to effectively censor the population. Now, there are many reports out there and speculation that China has already been using a form of a Google processing engines or search engines, that stuff in the Communist Party's equipment and their systems, networks that they use internally. But they were planning on bringing like a Google for all of China online, but like a Chinese censored version, and that was called Project Dragonfly. Now, it says, Google CEO says no plan to launch censored search engine in China. How do you cover your tracks? Start a fire. Google says no plan to launch. What if Google already gave access to China? China launch? Will China be announcing a state-funded and state-made new search engine in the coming months? The fire that brought down Google. Q. So Q's alluding to the fact that we don't know anything about this fire yet, really, other than it happened in a building where they seem to have the Google offices. But was there information inside of that office building that was basically destroyed in this fire that would have implicated that Google had been working with China for quite some time in developing this censored search engine and in other areas that maybe, to me, would go against a lot of you out there, even if some of you out there watching who work at Google would say, this is not a part of our mission statement. What we do as a company is we don't help other countries censor their populations unless you think that's what you should be doing, in which case ignore what I just said, right? But no, this is what's happening right now, and this is what Q wants us to look at. Obviously, it's something pretty incredible, so we'll stay up on that one. Now, to move forward, if this all jumps around while we're doing it, that's because Q is still posting. There's been like over a dozen posts by now, and I'm really just trying to keep up with the ones that are coming in as I'm going forward. So if it jumps around, just let you know that's why. The next one is Q responding to that post we just looked at, the one we just read. It says, Google upcoming financial statements should receive extra scrutiny. 10Q, follow the money, help will be provided. Q. Now, I'm not sure exactly what the 10Q is. I've actually racked my brain trying to figure out what was meant here. Is it a countdown? Is it a reference to something? The best thing I can look at and say is looking at their last 10 quarters. I don't know. But if that's not right, which I don't know that it is, I'm going to leave that for you guys down in the description and let me know what you think. Q wants us to look at following the money, and the help that's being provided is right here in the next post. So let's just go right here. Q gives us this Twitter post from this guy or this person at MAGA_swagga. I love some of these Twitter handles. They're great. But what does this lay out? This shows us that since November 21st of this year, the CEO of Google has been offloading a lot of stock. He's been selling his stock in Google, and what he's been selling has totaled about $20 million, give or take a few 100,000 or more here or there. About $20 million in the last like 2 weeks in the lead up to, of course, his sitting in front of Capitol Hill and giving his testimony yesterday. Now, in the lead up to that, you wonder why somebody would be offloading, I don't know, $20 million worth of stock as the head of a company. Well, that might be because they see something negative in the headwinds and they are about to, make some more money or whatever. But this is telling you a lot about the way that these companies end up working and how all this insider baseball works. Because you have to ask yourself. I watched Sundar on Capitol Hill yesterday. Seems like a nice guy. Just a normal dude who seems to be a nice individual. But that doesn't change that, he's the head of this company and there's so many issues that we're trying to get to the bottom of. And we're just asking questions and we want to look at things a little bit more critically and say, is this right? But anyway, Q's pointing us to this for a reason. I mean, it is a little bit suspicious to watch somebody offload $20 million in their own stock in their own company right before they're about to testify on Capitol Hill. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I don't know business. maybe Sundar will have to put out a statement or something. I don't know. But anyway, that is what Q wants us to look at. So I just thought I'd share it with you guys as usual. We got so much information to cover. It's pretty incredible. Now the next one are these articles. First, you have this Daily Mail article, which talks about how the incredible national news story that we can't report. So now, these articles to me, and here's the next one. It's saying why the media is unable to report on a case that has generated huge interest online. Of course, the next one saying an awful crime, the person is guilty, but we can't publish the story. This is George Orwell's 1984 living, ladies and gentlemen, here today in real time for you. These news organizations were barred from basically saying the name of an individual who was found guilty in an Australian court. Why? Well, because that person happened to be this guy right here, Cardinal Pell, who is like the number 3 apparently in charge at the Vatican, right-hand man to, you guessed it, the Pope himself, and he was just convicted in Australian court for some pretty disturbing crimes against it would be children, I would believe. If we're going to read the story here in a second, but it says dark to light Q. So let's keep looking into this a little bit further in a second. This is the story right here about Cardinal Pell. He's the top advisor to Pope Francis. He's been found guilty of historical sexual offenses. And in the article here, it talks about how an Australian jury found Cardinal George Pell, 77, guilty on 5 charges of historical child sex offenses that go back decades, according to various media reports, and confirmed by America. I guess that would be this magazine, this website. Says the 12-member jury gave their unanimous verdict in the County Court of the State of Victoria in Melbourne on Tuesday, December 11th. And this is what Q wanted us to look at, obviously. So you can see it goes all the way up to the top of some of these organizations where you have just evil. I mean, that somebody who would do that to a child is in my opinion, not the kind of person you'd want anywhere near any organization running anything. But that's just me. Maybe I'm just one of those guys who gets hung up on that kind of stuff. But that's what I believe, and that's my opinion. So I'm entitled to it, right? And the next one here is a Twitter post from Trump Hotels. And now, just to kind of lighten the mood here, this is rather hilarious. Now, what is it? It is this video, which I don't want to play the song because I don't know if they're going to hit me with a copyright strike, but I'll play the video while I talk over it. But it says, all aboard the Gingerbread Express. Look at that stocking right there. Oh, did you see it? There's a big queue here hanging. And now what is this? This is an elevator at the Trump Hotel in Chicago. Now, what did they do? They basically turned the elevator itself into an actual gingerbread house. Now, what did they also do? Well, they hung a bunch of stockings, one of which had a Q next to a T, right? They have a painting here that has Santa Claus holding a hammer that's signed QA. You can't read that. But and they have just all these other little trolling things that are just hilarious to look at. I'll show you. You can see the video here. Here are the chefs that were involved in making this. And then right here, Q tells us that there's a pin here. You can barely make it out right now, but it's a frog, like a Pepe frog, which they cut off in this part. But yeah, and this was a perfect troll. So what they did is, though, the story they're talking about how they'd spent, like, I don't know, weeks baking gingerbread bricks and basically making this elevator into a gingerbread house. And yeah, it's pretty impressive to see what they were able to do. And it's just kind of hilarious to see the expert troll level that President Trump and Q and all this have. And then there's these kids that are in here checking out the thing, and it's a fun video. I'm sure the kids love it. I bet adults love it. The one thing they say is that the elevator smells great, which I do believe that when you went into an elevator like that, it'd probably smell awesome. Q says trolling the fake news media is fun. Enemy of the people, Q. And yes, if they're delivering fake news, then they are not the friend of the people. I mean, obviously, if you're going to not tell us the full truth, if you're going to use half-truths and you're going to support a narrative and agenda that's your own, then it's hard to trust somebody. And trolling him in this way, which is harmless, is very fun. So the next one is Q responding to his own post saying, T and Q placed together, what a coincidence, the more you know Q. So what he was pointing to, like I pointed out before, was that the stockings T and Q were right next to each other. And there's so many different theories and stuff going on all the boards. I was reading them. They're quite very cool, very interesting. But basically, this one is talking about how, you have T and Q placed together, President Trump and Q, okay, we're moving on. So the next one here is from QAnon Baby. And look at this. Now, this is our president being awesome, because his Twitter's great. And if we had more time, I'd do all Twitter reactions, right? And I think this was the guy who actually got pointed to at the rally. But anyway, it says the Obama administration gave $150 billion to our enemy Iran, exporter of terrorism. They chant death to America, but the Democrats give Trump and the U.S. citizens but the Democrats can't give Trump and the U.S. citizens $5 billion for the wall. Now, of course, this was on at 10:24 on December 11th. Well, look at what President Trump tweeted the very next day. The Democrats and President Obama gave Iran $150 billion and got nothing, but they can't give $5 billion for national security and a wall? It's the same question, and it's maybe an homage from President Trump to that individual without retweeting him, because if President Trump retweeted him, that'd be too obvious. that would not be an expert level troll. This is, but is perfect. This is expert level when you do it like this, and I think that that's hilarious, and that's what Q wants us to look at. And it says, excellent Q, VIP Patriot, and then that was referring to the person who asked the question. And then it says, national security had to be included for reasons I'm sure you can understand. Think green, red castle, think military, happy holidays, Q. So obviously I think that President Trump added to that his own little national security. If you put that in there, you're basically making it clear that that's the reason for the wall, right? So you just tweaked it a little and then retweeted it. So, I mean, to me, it's like, look, this is what it is now, and now it's getting to the point where it's just fun to watch them pretend that this isn't real. it's like, okay. Anyway, the next one is an Anon who talks about Q's post about the cardinal who was found. Was it? Yeah, it was Cardinal Pell who was found guilty in that court in Australia. But the Anon says that he was the Vatican treasurer, and he's saying, like, I'm sure that carries some weight, meaning he's probably got some influence and he's a high up in the organization. Q says that he's number 3 apparently in the pecking order. And then it does define pecking animals, Q. Now, I think pecking, like chickens, I don't know, but I think that's kind of just a little play on words there. And that's kind of meant to say, look, people who do that kind of stuff, in my opinion, are the most despicable. So it's yeah, and they would be cowardly chickens. I don't know. That's the association you make with a chicken, right? It's like it's cowardly. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Next one. This post right here is from Q directly saying, "How many names start with a Q? What are the odds of a Q stocking? What are the odds of a Q stocking next to a T stocking? How many stockings in total? How many letters used? Logical thinking. A little holiday fun for this fake news media. Think Elf on the Shelf. Can you find the next one, Q?" So we're gonna talk about all the next ones, but it's hilarious. It's expert level troll, but yeah, I mean, like, it's so true. How many people's first name starts with a Q? First of all, and so that would be a common letter to be put up there. A lot of people have said so that there's 8 stockings. The people have said, they put all the letters together. They don't really make sense at the moment. There's like a BASTQB. I don't know, but the speculation is that the stockings were made for the chefs who created the creation, because you can hear in the video that the woman who made it says that she worked with a team of 7 other chefs to create this gingerbread house. So is it that there was 8? If it was including her, that's the thing I asked, because a lot of people said, well, she said 7, but I think she said 7, not including herself. So that would be 8. And I think that there's people that have pointed out that the Q was like added at the last second. Like it was originally supposed to be an O, but it ended up being a Q because somebody put like a little thing on it to make it a Q. I don't know. There's so many ways you could look at that. And Elf on the Shelf is kind of funny. It's yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Right. So the next one is a post here from Tom Newton Dunn, and it says that the Tory MP says Theresa May has just told them she will resign as prime minister before the next general election. Some ministers reported to be in tears inside the committee room. So obviously the way that the general sentiment that I'm getting online and from individuals from the United Kingdom is that Prime Minister Theresa May has done a terrible job in negotiating this Brexit deal, basically undermining its original intent and basically trying to sell a workaround to the British people, or to the British people, and to the European Union. So it's really just been an incredible letdown for so many people on that side, especially people who thought that there was actually gonna be a good deal that was gonna come out of it. But anyway, this is big news. I guess she's gonna step down. I mean, we all kind of knew that, but Q likes to point to it and give us that heads up, saying, "'Tis the season of treason." But it says, "May, Merkel, Macron never stop fighting. Where we go one, we go all." Q. Okay, so I mean, look, May, Merkel, Macron. These are the 3 individuals who have been, working at this EU thing and trying to make this work. But in and of itself, I think the EU was always doomed to not be not to be successful, because you can't have an unelected set of officials running everything. It just becomes terrible for the people living in it, as you can see as through the protests in France, when they try to put on this carbon tax, to offset their emissions, and they're basically destroying the middle class with these huge taxes and this huge burden, and causing the cost of living to go through the roof, and making it impossible to live in the middle class, or to be that or to move upward, to be upwardly mobile. Then you have this huge problem that you're never going to solve, no matter how many well-wishing, well-doing individuals you get in with their virtue signaling and their ideas for how they're going to, save the world by charging you money, right? If you just give me all your money, I'll save the world. See, real people don't make those kind of promises, right? Real people just make real promises about things. So that to me is what they're fighting against, but we'll just move right on. It says Q, or confirmed. O made into Q, more to come over time, happy hunting. So obviously somebody said here on the board that the O was changed into a Q, and Q confirms it here. So yeah, that kind of is what I was talking about before. The next one here is the picture of Santa. So Santa's got a hammer in his hand, and you can see the picture signed QA. So Santa with the hammer signed by QA. This Christmas we want justice. Says Q says confirmed. QA QAnon hammer. More to find over time. Happy hunting Q. So of course the next one here is this picture of the screenshot from the video where I told you about the pin that this chef is wearing, and it says I see a frog. Q says confirmed. Pepe the baker. Think POTUS tweet. Re Pepe. Trolling the fake news media is so much fun. So we looked at the tweet before where President Trump retweeted Pepe, a Pepe person, and he's even retweeted a picture of Pepe dressed up all MAGA. I just thought that was kind of funny, and definitely something worth looking at. But these are just like, just more little trolls for the media to go ahead and look at and say, oh yeah, that's not real. You're reading too much into this, Craig. You deranged person. Anyway, Clinton whistleblowers. Thursday's public hearing to reveal explosive information. This is from Sarah A. Carter, an article from her. And basically the article just talks about how tomorrow at this hearing, we're going to have troves of evidence being presented by whistleblowers, which is going to be discussing the fact that that tomorrow's investigative hearing is going to be discussing the whistleblowers who have brought troves of information to the FBI and the DOJ in response to allegations made against the Clinton Foundation. And apparently, according to Mark Meadows and others on the committee who have discussed this publicly, and other reporters like John Solomon and Sarah Carter herself, we've had all these reports that basically lay out this. The fact is that these whistleblowers are going to lay out the way the Clinton Foundation worked, what happened, why it suspiciously had such a huge amount of financing and support during the time at which Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, why it then subsided, but then was reinvigorated when she decided to run for president, and what were all these dollars actually getting? And there's a lot of questions surrounding it, and people need answers, and we have to look at the impropriety if there was any, we have to look at the corruption if there was any, and that's what this is going to talk about. It's going to talk about ongoing investigations, like coming straight out of the Little Rock, Arkansas field office for the FBI. So we're going to have to see what this is. Now the article just goes on to talk about how the story was published before about these whistleblowers that existed, bringing forth 5,000 documents that detailed the way that the Clinton Foundation worked with other organizations to basically get close to a company like the Russian nuclear giant Rosatom, and that they were responsible for bringing all these deals together. It would seem, according to certain reporting, that this has to be reported on. We have to see why the Clinton Foundation was receiving all of this, all of these donations, and what were they getting in return, and was there some sort of quid pro quo, pay for play type situation going on there? These are questions that are going to be asked at that hearing, and I think these are questions that the American people want to know the answer to, because we don't want a two-tier system. We don't want it to where if people who are in power politically break the law, they have a different justice system that they subscribe to than the people who don't have that kind of political influence or clout. See, if you violate the law, you should be held accountable, right? That's the way the law works in a fair and equitable system. But we're the ones here trying to recreate those days. Or recreate those days, as I should say. But anyway, the next one here is Twitter status. Now, this one's cool. I'm going to leave this link down in the description. So what this guy did, this Paul Saran, they put together this incredible, it's like 31 tweets that it's a thread that talks about how this all came to be. So it starts with talking about how John Huber kind of came into the picture, and how it all ends up with John Huber today. It goes through all the Q posts. It talks about how individuals know that things are going on behind the scenes, how they've been requesting that these be brought to the forefront, how they've been basically President or Jeff Sessions has basically appointed Huber, how he appointed him with IG Horowitz and the team of 470 investigators, how this is a huge investigation, all the Q posts, the now infamous, as we've read it 1,000 times, but it's a worthwhile read, is this Professor Turley article that talks about how Sessions appointing a Utah federal prosecutor is much better than the second special counsel, and so on and so forth. So it lays it all out in very good detail. I'm going to leave a link to it. We're not going to go through each one of these because that would take far too much time. But it is very interesting, and it talks about everything we've been covering here on the channel for quite some time. So if you guys want to go check that out, I'll leave a link down in the description to it. And shout out to @PaulSaran. Good job. That was really a fascinating read. I read through them all. Now it says, goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. RR still overseeing special counsel. And it gives us House oversight hearing. Now this is the big kahuna. This is the big deal, guys, coming up. Tomorrow, we have this subcommittee on government operations, and it's an oversight of nonprofit organizations and a case study of or on the Clinton Foundation. So just to give you an idea, we looked at this before and I didn't have anything written in description of it, but it says here its purpose is to discuss the management of 501c3 nonprofit organizations and how the designation impacts the programs and activities a nonprofit is allowed to conduct. And it says background on it is the 501c3 organizations are not permitted to be organized or operated for the benefit of any private individual and are only permitted to engage in minimal political activity. When a nonprofit organization violates these terms, defrauds contributors, or engages in impermissible political activity, the IRS may revoke its tax-exempt status. So that's what this is all on the top looking like. Topically, this is what they want you to look at this and see it as. But you're going to have people like Tom Fitton here and others. I thought John Huber was supposed to attend this. Obviously, I was not right about that. But even though John Huber is not there, Q's going to give us an explanation of what's going on to a degree. And this is what's coming up, guys. I can't wait to watch this. This is going to be a very a fascinating one to watch indeed. So that is that. It says, schedule for tomorrow. Where is Hubert? Nobody is above the law. The world is watching. Q. So I don't know where Huber is. I guess he would be behind the scenes doing this, and he hasn't been announced yet, or he's going to be participating in a different committee hearing. I don't know which other one, but Huber's not there, obviously. That doesn't mean that the investigation isn't going on, and maybe there's another prosecutor who's working on it, but anyway, if you guys have your thoughts on where Huber is, leave them down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And yeah, this whole thing is basically saying to me that when you look at it in its entirety, we have this huge investigation that's been going on. This is the biggest one ever. You have 470 plus investigators working with John Huber and them. And it's asking, is Rod Rosenstein still overseeing the special counsel? Well, no, now Matthew Whitaker is. So now that's happening, we're going to have this hearing. So we're going to see what comes out tomorrow. It's going to be pretty crazy. I think a lot of questions will be answered tomorrow at that hearing, and maybe there'll be even more questions spawned by it. But that is certainly progress in the right direction. Now the next one here, it says an Anon is posting saying, and this must be why the shills are spewing everywhere. Love it. And it's talking about this post right here, and Q responds to it by saying, panic is good, fake news attacks, blue checkmark attacks, shill attacks, badge of honor, over the target, Q. And that's self-explanatory, guys. I mean, that's what happens when you're over the target is people will come out of the woodwork to tell you you're crazy and you don't know what you're talking about. But we know better than that at this point, and we just follow our own path, and we keep asking the questions as they come. The next post here says, what if there's another prosecutor outside of DC assigned by Sessions with the same mandate authority? One for the history books, not long now, Q. So obviously it's all referring back to John Huber and what he's doing. Even this one right here is basically where it's saying, where is Huber? It's saying that, John Huber is the guy to go to. That is the other person who is assigned to it. That is the other person who is the other prosecutor who has the same mandate and authority to go and investigate these things. So this is one for the history books, guys. But now the next one here, this post is from an anon who says, basically, so John Huber was a head fake, right? Meaning John Huber is supposed to be a diversion or is not real. Actually, Q says that's false. Q says Huber will bring severe pain to DC. Sessions forced release of name Huber to House created another variable. Use logic. Why would we tell you the plan if in doing so also alerts those who are actively engaging in the hunt or engaged in hunting, excuse me, you are witnessing firsthand the demise of those in power, old guard. Those who push simply have no grasp of reality. Those who push simply do not understand warfare tactics. Emotions cloud judgment. Emotions cloud logic. You have more than you know. Securing the Senate meant everything. Securing the Supreme Court meant everything. Avoided Z. We the people. Enough is enough. Together we win. Do you think all these attacks on Q, we the people, is simply for a person on the internet who they label as a conspiracy? Think for yourself, trust yourself, research for yourself, be in control of yourself, never let someone else drive you. Those who try to drive you are not your friend. Q. So this is Q telling us basically everything we need to know about Huber and how that it's really him, that he was the one who was put in place by Sessions and that it's coming. And, the old guard is losing their grip on this. And that's really the big reason why we're seeing all of these crazy stories. And like Q says, it was all about getting the Senate and the Supreme Court. That was so important. And avoiding Z, whatever that is, because I'm not sure what Z is referring to there. If you guys have thoughts, leave them down in the comments. But what he wants us to look at then is that the attacks on Q aren't just because it's some guy on 8chan who's a conspiracy theorist. No, it's because they know where the information's coming from, and they have to do everything they can in their power to keep it from basically going mainstream. That's their job at this point, because it's going to completely destroy the narrative that they're trying to create in the mainstream media, and that's why we're definitely up against something much more powerful than anything any of us has ever come against. And it says, trust yourself, research for yourself, think for yourself. Don't let others drive you. Don't let the people in the fake news media try to drive you into believing their narratives about, oh, nothing's happened, nothing's happening. Look, we're here, we're following the information, we're doing the research, and that's what matters, right? And everything else is kind of just happening. It's static. It's in background noise. There's nothing to it besides their own narratives they're trying to impose on you. This is a place where you come to get objective leads into different stories that give you an ability to go deeper and see what may be underneath the surface by doing your own research and finding your own answers. So that's what I always try to promote here. That's why I love you guys as an audience. You guys are great. And it makes sense that this is the way it's put forth in this kind of, like we say, Socratic method of asking questions, So that's pretty much it, though. Stick around for 1 second, okay? Basically, what I want to do is talk about a few important things. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please come here on the landing page, click the big red subscribe button. It helps the channel out big time. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out there. I have a lot of projects I'm working on. I feel like ever since I went to this conference in DC for 5 days, I've lost 5 days of progress on these things, and I'm not falling behind, but I have a lot of work to do. So I'm going to get more content up. I'm working on a few different things and some projects with some other people. So look out for that as well. Also, make sure you leave your thoughts, theories, and insights down in the comments, because like I say, we do our best to have our own QAnon research board. The comment section on this video is going to be a great place for you to get a lot of the answers and things that we didn't cover in the video itself. I encourage you to scroll down and read through it, even if you can't comment. Now, a couple other ways you can help the channel would be to check out Twitter. You can come find me on Twitter at Justin_formed, or you can go to Justin Formed Talk on Twitter. You can search that and you'll find this page, which is the official Justin Formed Talk Twitter page. And all you gotta do is come here, click the follow button. Once you do that, then you can get all my cool, funny tweets, and you'll have an opportunity to kind of join me over here on Twitter and keep spreading the word of Q out there into the world. Also, there's justinformednews.com, which is a resource for you guys. It's got links to all the Q stuff. It's got links to all these different real news sites. And I'm not saying that everything they do is 100% right and true, but I'm saying that it's a good starting point. We have a few different news feeds here from Drudge and from Fox to give you an update on news that's coming in. And it's just a good tool. I want it to be a good resource for you guys. So that's why I created it. That's why it's up and running, and it will be up and running for you guys there anytime you need it. Now, also, if you guys want to help out, a couple of the ways you can help with the channel are both financial, okay? I rely on the support of viewers like you to keep this channel going. So if you can come over here to patreon.com. That's patreon.com. Search Just Informed Talk. Once you come here to this landing page, click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You can set it and forgive it. Give as little as $1 or as much as you like, but your donation helps keep this channel alive. It helps me do things like travel to DC and to keep this work going in the face of YouTube demonetization. So thank you so much to everyone who is here as a patron and who is keeping this work coming. I really appreciate your support, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to have your support there. Also, if you guys don't want to do the monthly thing, that's totally cool. I set up this GoFundMe page. It's gofundme.com/just-informed. Links to both will be in the descriptions. If you guys want to give, this is a place where you can give one time and you can give anonymously. So it's just however you want to give. I really appreciate your support in this effort. So with that being said, I'm going to take a second and I'm going to talk about the most important thing, and that is God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for that, I want to talk about a verse that always sticks close to my heart, and it talks about, how we can boast in the Lord. Now, I just want to share it with you. I know that we've probably covered it before, but there's always new viewers, and the message is always good, and it's the message I want to share with you guys today. But this is from 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26 through 31. It says, "Brothers, consider your calling. Not many are wise from a human perspective, not many powerful, not many of noble birth. Instead, God has chosen the world's foolish things to shame the wise, and God has chosen the world's weak things to shame the strong. God has chosen the world's insignificant and despised things, the things viewed as nothing, so he might bring to nothing the things that are viewed as something, so that no one can boast in his presence. But from him you are in Christ Jesus, who for us became wisdom from God, as well as righteousness, sanctification, and redemption, in order that, as it is written, the one who boasts must boast in the Lord." And that's the most beautiful message I think you can imagine. It's telling you out there that God uses the weak to shame the strong. God wants us humble. God will use the least of these to affect the most of these. And this is the way God works. He'll come into your heart and he can fix you and he can make you strong again. He can take what was weak and make it strong. And he can give you the power to go out and to show the world that the only thing we know we should do is boast in the Lord and his greatness and his eternal gift of life that we've received through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ for our sins. So remember that when you go out into the world, guys, that God uses everyone, and he can use you, and he can make the weak strong, and he can make the proud humble, and he can work so many miracles and give so many blessings that you are only called to make sure that when you boast, you must boast in the Lord. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.